Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Daniels versus Oluwole fight. And so, if you're on your own here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. Of course, I got to apologise for any awful pronunciation in which I might be offering, but nonetheless, Daniels going into this fight is 10-2-2 with 1 KO, and Oluwole is 9-0 with 5 KOs. This fight is for the IBF World Light Heavyweight title. Daniel's last fight was a win via majority decision versus Robinson, and Oluwole's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Abe Soye. Daniels is 36 and Oluwole is 22. This fight is in Daniels' home country of Australia, and it is the first time that Oluwole has fought outside of Nigeria. Daniels' losses have come versus Perez in 2019 and 2018. And to speak more about what I've just been saying, like I've just been mentioning, of course, this IBF title on the line. It is Daniels' first defence of this title. She, of course, won the IBF title at heavyweight, and then in her last fight went down to light heavyweight and then won it against Robinson, in which was a really excellent fight and entertaining fight to watch, if anything. And I feel like that's something in which Daniels as a fighter pretty much always guarantees. But at the same time, I think Daniels looked a lot better in that last fight, and of course she's on the older side of things with her career, and there are a lot of heavyweights who are in their late 30s, well, not heavyweights, champions are in their late 30s in every weight class, but not ones that are continually improving. And I saw a good improvement in that last fight from Daniels, and I'm going to speak a bit more about that in a moment. But in general, she is one of the bigger names in this kind of light heavyweight division for the women's boxing rankings. And so yeah, it's good to see her get in this fight. And to be honest, I've been calling for Oluwole to get tested and to get a big fight in heavyweight division, or the light heavyweight division, I mean. And like I mentioned, like the heavyweight boxing scene hasn't really got too many big names. I think it's really been bolstered recently by the addition of Clarissa Shields, and I think every fighter now, I mean, Daniels has been talking about it, she has that want to go on to fight Clarissa Shields, and I believe every heavyweight, light heavyweight in the women's divisions will have that want to go on to fight Clarissa Shields now. And like I say, it puts eyes onto the division, and it kind of makes people perhaps take even this fight more notice, because they're thinking, oh, the winner of this might go on to fight Clarissa Shields, we should know what she's about and everything like that. And so it's a good thing in general. And to be honest, I went and I watched the whole fight from the Laney Daniels Robinson fight, and it has like over 200k views. And Australians, I know how they really get behind their boxers, but for a women's light heavyweight fight, that is excellent. And so there are clearly eyes on this division. I think it should be sold better, and hopefully it will be from now on. And this fight is another good fight. It's another good matchup to be made. Oluwole, of course, has that unbeaten record. She has stoppages on her record, and she is making a bit of a name for herself, being that maybe more powerful puncher, or in general, I think a bit of an unknown type entity. I mean, she has bits of tape on her, and I've seen her last performance, and it was a relatively comfortable performance where she didn't really have to do anything too crazy to be able to get the win. But in general, she hasn't really got too many big performances where it's been recorded and things like that, and big stoppages. I mean, I've watched one where her opponent literally did just quit just halfway through the round, just stuck her glove up and then just decided she didn't want any more. But nonetheless, she's going to be interesting. I think she could definitely cause an upset here, and of course, being the much younger fighter, being of course a bit more of an unknown type entity, haven't lost yet, will have that confident momentum, in general has quite a confident style. She's definitely going to come into this with the will to win, the want to win, and she's going to be a tough test for Daniels. So Daniels definitely can't be overlooking this and thinking about, of course, the Clarissa Shields fights or anything like that. But obviously, like I mentioned, Oluwole is coming in undefeated, but I think Daniels in her career, since she had that break, she's come back and she's looked really impressive. So when you look at the record and you look at the losses, obviously she had 2 losses, 2 draws in relatively quick succession, but then she had a couple years break. I'm not necessarily sure what happened in that few years break, but she's come back and she's now a much better fighter, and like I say, one which is improving as well. And so she is now a very tough champion to be beaten, and in my opinion. So to speak about them both individually as fighters, Daniels, something in which I really picked up on in that last fight was the solid head movement. I mean, it did drop a little bit throughout the fight, and in general, I think the high tempo and everything else like that was kind of making her struggle a little bit, and perhaps she was getting a bit too tired and things like that. But in general, there was a lot of solid head movements, and when you look in the heavyweight divisions, men and women, there isn't particularly a lot of good defensive movement, and it's something in which Usyk gets a lot of credit for. I'm not comparing Daniels to Usyk, but it was a nice head movement. It was like a attempted Mike Tyson type style where she was ducking and weaving and trying to find a way in. And typically, as the smaller fighter, Daniels, she has to do that, and she did that well. And it wasn't just a conventional, just kind of force your way in type way. It's an interesting way, and yeah, it seemed to work relatively well, and was where she was getting a lot of point scoring exchanges. Obviously it was putting her in dangerous positions, but she was out of the majority of the exchanges getting the better of Robinson. She's a come forward type fighter, pressure fighter that typically tries to overwhelm you a lot of the time. She's confident, like I mentioned, and that confidence seems to be growing with every win. She's an inside type fighter, which in my opinion is a bit different to that of Oluwole, who I think prefers that mid-range type style. So like Robinson, who did also prefer that mid-range type style, is she going to be able to keep Daniels away, or is she going to be able to fight inside better? We'll have to wait and see. She lets her hands go. Daniels, she has a high tempo, high output. She counters relatively well. I think in general she is always aiming to respond whenever she does get hit with a shot, but she has got solid counters in the process. She gives her all in fights. She's typically quite hard to hit. When I say you have that type Mike Tyson type style, it is difficult to be able to land cleanly on you when you are doing that ducking and weaving type style. She's got good stamina. Obviously, like I say, she did tire a little bit coming into the later rounds of that last fight, but at the same time, she was, like I say, fighting at such a high output, such a high tempo, that is no real surprise. And she is typically quite physical, even though, like I mentioned, she's the smaller fighter, she is typically quite physical. Negatives, I suppose, about her, I think at a mid range, genuinely finding her range, she isn't amazing at, and kind of has to fight on the inside because I think she does struggle to find her range at times. She can have a bit of a low guard at times when she is just coming forwards, and that's when she can get caught clean. And we're going to be it's going to be interesting to see Oluwole's power and what that is actually like, and if it is actually good. If she's getting caught cleanly, then she might get hurt. She can overcommit on her shots. She crosses her feet over and then kind of does, in a lot of exchanges, just kind of stand in front of you and swing wildly, and it's quite hard to be able to handle. But if you can handle it, you can land clean because she is quite a big target when she stops her bobbing and weaving, and she does just stand in front of you. She can be drawn into her fights. She doesn't always cut off the ring the best. I think she can be sometimes messy in exchanges. I think she can headhunt. Oluwole, perhaps in my opinion, goes to the body a bit better. She ducks her head down a lot of the time, perhaps forces the fight a bit, does, like I say, slow down. She has wide hooks. She can be messy at the end as well, and typically in general, she's not overly fast. I don't think either of these two fighters are overly quick. I think Robinson's hand speed was something which had helped her get the better of certain exchanges against Daniels because of just, like I say, that hand speed being more superior. Oluwole as a fighter, like I say, she's powerful. She's shown that, but just not at a high level, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that transfers. She has a high guard, so she's not going to be the easiest to land clean on. She's, like I mentioned, a bit of an unknown type entity, so not too sure what to expect fully with her. She's confident from what I have seen of her. She has a typically quite confident style when she is moving around and has that space to be able to kind of be able to do what she wants. She will just kind of invite you in, or because she knows you can then push you back afterwards. And typically quite a confidence type style. She has a level change in jab, which is nice. Resets well. In general, I think her actual footwork is better than that of Daniels. She fights typically. She wants to fight at a mid range. She doesn't really stand and trade. She picks her shots nicely. She finds her range well, which is something, like I say, the opposite of that of Daniels. She has solid head movement as well. She doesn't perhaps use it the same way that Daniels does to try and get inside. She just kind of uses it to be able to maneuver out the way of shots. But it is pretty good, and controls the centre a lot of the time as well. So it's going to be a battle for the centre, I'm sure, for this fight. And in my opinion, I could see Daniels perhaps winning it with her style. And negatives about Oluwole, I think reacting or following up on her jab isn't always amazing, and she can seem a little bit uncomfortable in close. And like I say, just following up on her shots in general, she can seem a little bit uncomfortable and can perhaps get a bit flustered. And with that Daniels overwhelming pressure, that could fluster Oluwole. I don't think her countering, her timing, her accuracy with her hooks or anything that's that amazing. Fully committing to her shots, she can be messy on the inside, and like I say, just seems to kind of question herself on the inside whereas Daniels is just kind of gonna throw whatever she can at you. She kind of goes forwards in back and forth straight lines, and Daniel I think might be able to counteract that. And obviously, like I said, the speed of Oluwole isn't amazing. Daniels is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Daniels will win via a unanimous decision. Pretty much what I just mentioned, I think will happen. I think she's just going to be able to get on the inside, get the better out of exchanges, expose that Oluwole isn't amazing on the inside, show that the power isn't enough to be able to hurt Daniels. And I think Daniels probably does have a good chin in her own right. I don't think it's been tested incredibly yet, but I think it is a good chin. And yeah, I think she's just going to be able to come forward, and if she can get past the jab, in which I believe she will be able to do at times, because even if she forces her way in, I think she'll be able to do it at times, and then, like I say, make Oluwole uncomfortable on the inside. Then who she could go on to fight next? I mean, like I mentioned, Clarissa Shields is the big name, WBO champion in the light heavyweight rankings. It is a bit interesting how it works. I mean, Daniels moved up to heavyweight to be able to win her title at the IBF title at heavyweight, but then had to move down to light heavyweight. But Shields has won titles at light heavyweight and heavyweight in the same fight because there isn't really enough fighters. I don't know, it's a bit messy at the moment, I think, that them heavier weight divisions, but like I say, she's been calling out for the fight and she believes it will be next, so we'll have to wait and see. And if she puts on a big statement and has eyes on her, like I mentioned, then why not put Clarissa Shields in with her? She's going to be a very tough test, but maybe she can deal with it and it'd be a huge win if Daniels could do that. If not, Keneally, WBA champion, that would be another big fight and a big kind of domestic fight for Australian boxing, in which, yeah, two of the two champions go at it. That would be good. Or Blanco is a name which, she's somebody who's 5-0, about to maybe a 6-0 if she wins the next fight, and she's, I believe, got all first or second round stoppages, so she's really progressing well herself out in Colombia, I believe. And so I feel like there are a few South American names in which, if Daniels wants to and or can't get a Clarissa Shields fight, she could find names like that to be able to fight. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.